It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, available on iHeartRadio every morning and also on Spotify and Apple, and of course wherever you get your podcast from. Well, there it is. Yes, we know that it's Christmas Eve when you start listening to that sort of music. It's a Saturday morning, and here we are on Christmas Eve, the 24th day for December for 2022. Yes, Merry Christmas. Just one more day to go before diving into your Christmas dinner tomorrow. And a reminder, we have a Christmas special breakfast coming up tomorrow morning. Well, one of the things to watch out for if you have a mortgage for next year is going to be the rate rises. We know that they're going to be coming in the first quarter of next year. And together with that will also be your ability to move around banks. Now, at the moment, we kind of take that for granted, but there is a hidden trap. What is the hidden trap, I hear you ask? Well, we're going to be talking about that in just a moment with Andrew Wheatley, our mortgage broker who we feature regularly with the Let's Talk Mortgages podcast series. I can tell you this much, it has the word prison in it, so listen up, that is coming in just a moment. If you're celebrating your birthday for today, for December the 24th, happy birthday. You are celebrating with Ricky Martin. He is turning half a century old, turning 50, and Anthony Fauci, the American doctor, he is turning 81 today.
It's your weekend real estate breakfast with news, interviews and predictions every morning on the Real Estate Podcast. It's the Main Centre Forecast with PRD, selling smarter every day.
All right, let's check on your weather on this Saturday morning, Christmas Eve. And first we go to Sydney. Good morning to you. Expecting a mostly fine and sunny day. That's the good news. And the temperature too, fantastic, 29 degrees. In Melbourne, expecting a little bit of the cloud to clear with 23 as your forecast high. Brisbane, 28, expecting a shower or two in Brisbane today, and in Perth, blue skies with sunshine and a high of 31 degrees.
We are just as addicted to property as you are. Every weekday morning from 6:30. It's your weekend real estate breakfast, a serial-sized podcast about what's happening in your local backyard every Saturday morning on the Real Estate Podcast.
Well, there are so many Australians who for 2023 are about to be put in mortgage prison. Now, it sounds serious, and it can be, and the reason that I pose that question for you this morning is because we have a mortgage expert who is going to offer up some advice. Rising interest rates, they're creating a new problem that demands positive action to be taken, and because as Australian families have come to realise when they want to refinance for a better mortgage deal, they no longer qualify for even the loan that they've already got, and therefore they're in a state of limbo. So what is mortgage prison, and what steps can be taken to avoid being trapped at the bank? So let's catch up with Andrew Wheatley this morning from Wheatley Finance. And a very good morning to you, Andrew. Christmas Day, just a day out.
I know, pretty exciting at my house. So yeah, all the kids can't wait for Santa to come.
I'm sure. So Andrew, this is a rate rise byproduct. So tell us what mortgage prison is and why it is a bad thing.
Yeah, so mortgage prison is when you're stuck at the bank you're with and you don't have any option to move. That can happen for lots of different reasons. It could be that the price of the property has decreased and you no longer have enough equity. Maybe you're not earning as much income as you used to, so the loan you originally got you no longer qualify for. There's a different thing that's happening at the moment. We've got people who have plenty of equity, don't want to borrow any more money, still earn the same income they earn or even more income than they were earning when they first got the loan. But because of the interest rate rises that have happened during 2022, they no longer qualify to borrow the amount they already have. The effect of that is that they can't go to another bank to refinance their loan, which means they're just stuck and they have to take whatever rate their bank wants to charge them. They have no option.
In a way, it's probably a good thing, do you think, for the bank? Because for that very reason, they can't leave.
Yeah, look, we don't want to be too conspiracy theorist, but the worry is that banks during 2023 certainly have the option to start putting rates up, and some people will be able to leave, and there'll be some people who are just going to have to pay whatever they're charged. My advice to people is refinancing is one of those things that you're putting off to do next month or next year. Really, now is the time you want to start having a look at it to make sure you do it while you actually still can.
And that was my next question, was what steps should people be taking to avoid being stuck in this mortgage prison?
Yeah, and the fact is, once you're stuck in it, you can't really get out of it. So you want to do whatever you can now in advance before you get stuck. So whatever bank you end up with, at some point is going to overcharge you. But at least if you start moving now, you might be able to get a nice cash back, get yourself on a lower rate, at least take advantage of whatever you can do now before you get stuck.
You know, it's interesting because you've only got to go back to the start of 2022. Somebody buys a property. This would be the furthest thing from their mind that they would end up in mortgage prison. In fact, if you said to them, hey, this year you might end up in mortgage prison, they'd say, what's that?
Oh, absolutely. It's not even a term that anyone was really talking about. What it comes back to, though, is understanding how banks work, which is that they treat new clients very differently from existing clients. And even if you just move banks now, the rate you're going to get reset onto, like the new client deal, you're probably going to be okay for, maybe the next 12 months or even the next 12 or 18 months. But if you've been with your existing bank already for 2, 3, 5 years, you're already like an existing client. They're already targeting you to pay higher rates, and you're just going to be in a much worse spot than if you can become a new client now before you get stuck.
So, Andrew, what advice do you have for people who are worried about further rate rises, of course, in 2023, which are coming?
Look, it's the same advice that we always have for people. It's just that now it's becoming a bit more urgent or a bit more top of mind. The advice is always that you want to be trying to become a new client as regularly as you can. New clients get the best deals, existing clients get overcharged. So the advice for someone who's worried about going into mortgage prison is the same advice we would have given you 12 months ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. You need to review where you're at with your current bank and then compare it to the best deals in the market. And if it makes sense to you, you need to start doing what's best for you.
And what about in terms of pre-approvals? Because this has been a real sort of problem, a nightmare for people in the last 4 or 5 months, especially in that first quarter of 2023. As somebody that's dealing with mortgages, it's obviously going to be there as we continue into the first quarter, right?
It is. The banks have settled down a bit on that. So if you get a pre-approval now for a certain loan amount, with most banks, it's locked in for 3 months. So even if a rate rise happens after you get the pre-approval, if you purchase within 3 months, you can be pretty sure about the loan amount that you're going to get. You want to get those pre-approvals early because every time a rate rise happens, you can borrow less.
And of course, there will be people that just really don't want to go into 2023. They'd rather stay in 2022 if possible because they're coming off those fixed rates. And boy, this is going to hurt a lot of people.
Absolutely, Craig. It's going to be a big shock coming off, say, 2.5%, or even a 3% fixed rate that some people have been on for the last 2 or 3 years. And at some point in 2023, coming out on a 5% variable rate. My advice for all of those people is plan it well in advance. I would say on average about 3 months before your fixed rate is due to expire. That's when you need to start talking to somebody, like talking to a mortgage broker and looking around at the different deals and making sure that while you're not going to get the same deal you were on, you want to be pretty aggressive about trying to get whatever the best deal is available.
Well, there's a lot to take in for next year already, and we haven't even clicked into 2023. Hey, you enjoy Christmas Day. Might look in on you tomorrow morning because we've got that Christmas special. And once again, thanks for coming back on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Hey, I loved it, Craig. Thanks for having me on.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.